What's up, dreamers? Does God heal today? Yes. Does God cause us physical pain to teach us a lesson? No. I stand by those statements and I want to tell you the story of how God healed my shoulder. So before I got into film and video, I thought I was going to be a dancer, and I was training every single day. I was teaching, I was traveling, performing, I was having the time of my life with my best mates. But then one day while I was training, I was practicing a move called a hand hop, which is when you like hop on one hand. I popped out my shoulder. I crashed flat on my back and I pretty much gave up dancing. I turned to filmmaking properly. And that was 5 years ago, and I'd pretty much forgotten about that injury throughout that time. I didn't do any handstands or press-ups or any weights or really anything like that at all. I even had a couple of people pray for me, nothing really happened, and 5 years passed. So then fast forward to last year, and I'm listening to one of my favourite speakers. He's called Simon Holly, and he's talking on the subject of forgiveness. I'm kind of thinking, to be honest, I don't really have anyone to forgive, like it's fine. But as ministry time came, I didn't want to, let the opportunity pass. I thought, do you know what, God, just if there is anyone that I need to forgive, I just ask that you just reveal that person to me so I can just deal with it. Because there's so much power in forgiveness. And in that moment, I heard the voice of God, and he said, you never forgave yourself. Suddenly, the most excruciating pain came back onto my shoulder, and it was like the memory suddenly triggered. I was back on the dance studio. I was back lying on the floor on my back in pain after the injury happened. I realized that I'd never actually told anyone that I was hurt. I'd never properly processed the pain because I was just too proud. I'd never forgiven myself for potentially ruining a dance career. Now, this is where it gets extra amazing and kind of crazy. As I forgave myself in that moment during the worship time, I felt something leave me. It was like I felt this unforgiveness step out of me. It was like I'd been kind of harboring it in the pain that whole time. It's hard to explain, but it was incredible because in that moment I felt in my spirit, in my emotions that yes, I had been set free. Now, I wasn't physically healed in that exact moment, but a couple of months later we were chatting about healing at like small group with our church family, and my faith levels were just buzzing because of what had happened. And so they laid hands on me and I was physically healed that night. I remember as people were leaving our house, I was like doing weights, like, oh my days, I just realized like I haven't been able to do this because of pain before, and the pain had totally gone. Why? How? Who? What? Where? Huh? Can it be? I don't have all the answers, but I've got some verses here that might help us out a little bit. James 5:16 says, therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you might be healed. I find it very interesting that there was some sort of connection between forgiveness unlocking the pathway to my healing. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purposes. I injured myself. It was not God's fault. I took it a little bit too far and I didn't seek the help I needed afterwards. But God knew what had happened. He saw me, he loved me, he had a plan for me. I don't think there's any real formula for healing. Your story will probably be totally different to mine. But sometimes we are so quick to go after the physical healing without looking at the deeper emotional healing that needs to happen. Sometimes we demand this easy, instant fix without wanting to get to know God and get to know his heart. I learned so much about pride, about forgiveness, about God's plan for my life and my career because he chose to turn my situation around into a testimony that's now really precious to me. So if you need physical healing, I would suggest sitting down with God and just telling him how much you love him and that actually you want him more than you want a physical healing from him. Maybe you need to say sorry or forgive people, I don't know. But God is healing people today and he healed me today, and I hope this has encouraged you to go after healing and to go after your healing. And remember, dream big, God cares. Peace.